Hello there, Pastor Tim here with a little bit different episode of Bible Biker. Our community just went through the Hurricane Helene, and it has devastated western North Carolina. And there's some lessons we can learn from this. Fortunately, our community wasn't as badly impacted as a little bit west from our area, but not too far from us. Houses have been wiped out, businesses have been wiped out, but around our parts, a lot of the infrastructure is still down, power, communication, things like that. But for the most part, our local church congregation community is okay. But as you can see here, I'm passing by. This is where a bridge was that a few of my parishioners live beyond. And after the storm passed, I immediately tried to contact most of the people in our congregation and in our community I was worried about. And because the phone systems weren't down, I actually hopped on my motorcycle and began going door to door, and realized that there were some roads and areas that weren't passable, either due to trees or landslides or just infrastructure being down, and I couldn't get to them. And that was pretty frightening and unsettling. And let me first say that for the most part, our community, our local congregation, we're okay. Just dealing with issues of no power and communication and getting folks water and food. But like I said, compared to some other parts of western North Carolina, we're a lot better off. But this inspired a lesson I want to share with you all. And it comes from Luke chapter 16. Luke chapter 16 contains a popular story that Jesus shares, a parable, if you will, that illustrates hell. It's called the story of the rich man and Lazarus. And there's a lot that I could talk about it, but I'm inspired by this fact that right after the storm, because of the bridges being out, because of landslides and roads being washed out, not being able to get to people, I realized how disheartening and unsettling and frightening it was to know that I couldn't get to those that I love, and many of those folks couldn't get to the ones that they love. And it reminded me of an aspect of the story of the rich man and Lazarus that illustrates an aspect of hell that I don't think is taught as much as it should be. You know, anytime we hear about hell, most of us Christians think of some of the things that even Jesus himself described hell being: fire and brimstone, outer darkness, gnashing of teeth, all these horrible things. Most people, when they think of hell, they think of the heat and the fire and the brimstone and those aspects of hell. And certainly those are terrifying and biblical and things Jesus used to illustrate it. But in this story that Jesus shares with the rich man and Lazarus, there's an aspect that sticks out to me because of the circumstances that we've gone through in dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. And it's this aspect that, you know the story, it's this rich man who's wealthy, and you have this understanding that because he's wealthy and prominent in the world, he doesn't realize his need for God and hasn't put his trust in God, his faith in God. So when he dies, unlike Lazarus, who lived a horrible life, sick and poor, filled with poverty and destitution, he knew he needed help, and he would inevitably put his faith and trust in God. So Lazarus, when both him and the rich man die, Lazarus is carried by Abraham in his bosom to heaven, but the rich man who didn't put his faith and trust in God is in hell. And he sees Abraham carrying Lazarus to heaven, and he calls out to Abraham and says, Father Abraham, will you send Lazarus back to me just to bring me a drop of water? Even a drop of water would bring him such a comfort. But Abraham looks back at the rich man and he says, you know, in your life you had these good things and Lazarus had bad things. Now in the afterlife, Lazarus will have the good things and you had the bad things. Again, this is the illustration that because the rich man was so well off in his life, he didn't know his need for God in his life and didn't put his faith and trust in God, and now he is in hell. But Lazarus inevitably knew his need for God and put his faith and trust in God, and now he's being carried to heaven. But Abraham in this story calls back to the rich man, and says, we can't come back to you because there is this great gulf between us that's fixed between us. There's this great catechism between us, and those in heaven can't get to you, and those of you that are in hell can't get to those that are in heaven. And that to me is the most frightening aspect of hell. There's this great gulf between those in hell and those in heaven. There's this great separation, this great divide between those that will go to hell and God. In hell, you are eternally separated from the love of God. And not only that, you will be eternally separated from all those that you love in this world now that have put their faith and trust in Jesus Christ. And again, this comes to mind because of just how heartbreaking and heart-wrenching it was there for a few days. Not being able to check on those you love, not being able to call them, not being able to drive to them, to get to them. And in many ways, it was a little taste of what some people will experience in hell. Of course, it's much worse than what we can imagine in this life, to be eternally separated from God. Remember, the only thing good in this universe, the standard of goodness itself, is God. So when we're separated from God, we are separated from all that is good in our lives. We're separated from love, we're separated from grace, from forgiveness, from mercy, from all those that we love and care about. So I know this lesson is a bit disheartening, but it's something I think we all got to realize. You know, it's easy to think about heaven as being a place where good people go and hell being where bad people go. But that's not what it really is. Those that are in heaven because they trust in God and want and desire to be with God, have accepted His love, His grace, His mercy, and Him reaching out to us. Those that are in hell are those that didn't put their faith in God. And as a result, they'll be eternally separated from all that they love, all the people that have loved them, and most importantly from the God that has given them everything, including the life that they now have. So this storm and being separated from my loved ones for a short period has been disheartening, but by the grace of God, I've been able to get in contact with all our church community, and for the most part, everybody's doing well, and they're getting by. But I'm going to leave you with some footage of some of the areas of how high the rivers got. I'm not going to put footage of property damage, it's just too disheartening to me, but I'll include some footage of some of the roads and river spots that got really high, and just so you can see kind of an idea of the devastation we've experienced. But I want you all to pray for Western North Carolina, pray for our community, pray for those that have lost their houses, their businesses, and pray for all those families that have lost something even more important, even more valuable, and that's their loved ones, their family, their church community. Pray for us all, and I appreciate you all watching. I appreciate you all's prayers. God bless.